Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Chai, and Uncle Sam wants you to run for office in the state of Connecticut. Are you sick and tired of a state that only looks at citizens as some sort of a resource that they can mine for tax dollars for their bad spending decisions? Are you sick and tired of living in a state that actively opposes your personal values and your identity as a human? Well, I'm here to tell you right now, if you feel like you don't have a voice, it's time for you to speak up. And if you want to see some action, it's time for you to act. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that this is a government of, by, and for the people. And you've been brainwashed into thinking that you can't really do anything because, I'm not a politician and I don't know how to do politics. And sure, maybe that's true. But our political system was never intended to be led by professional politicians with no term limits who take all the money through graft and corruption. And in fact, graft and corruption is the number one cause and the number one perpetuator of poverty here and around the world. So it's time for you to step up. So today I'm just going to talk about a couple brief things, and I'm going to be making more videos. But this first video is about what can I do? What can I do? So I'm going to tell you about 3 different things that you can do. And I'm pretty sure that everyone has the capacity to be one of these 3 things. Okay. Thing number 1 is going to be a candidate who runs for office. And I don't care if you're independent or unaffiliated or libertarian or Republican, or even if you're forward party. The only thing that matters is breaking the criminal machine that runs Connecticut. And as long as you want to put Connecticut citizens first, as long as you want transparency, as long as you want fiscal responsibility, and as long as you're not here to take rights away from parents and children, then you're actually on the right side and you've come to the right place. So if you want to be a candidate, you will need to run as a Republican. And I know that may be hard to hear, but even if you've been an independent for your whole life, you won't be able to really get on the ballot line because our state is very corrupt and it keeps third parties off the ballot line. And that's just the reality of it. But getting together to fight for the citizens of the United States and to fight for the citizens of Connecticut and our rights to determine our own lives and how our money is spent and how our children are raised is on the line. And I think everybody knows that. Everybody feels that. So the only way to do that is actually through the Republican Party. And that's why I have thrown all of my support behind the Republican Party. So what can you do? Number 1, you can be a candidate. Well, what does it take to be a candidate in the state of Connecticut? Well, I guess you know that Connecticut has a lot of dirty politics, a lot of fighting, a lot of nastiness. So you need to be able to pass a criminal background check. I know that's a low bar, but if there's any significant skeleton in your closet that the other team could find and bring up against you, I would suggest that you do step back. The other thing that you need to do to be a candidate is to be a quick learner, and a quick learner who is actually willing to learn from people who know a little bit more about how the process works. So being a quick learner, very important. The other thing you need to do is you have to have some sort of a passion about at least one issue that's important to people in Connecticut. something that's going to grab votes across lines to get you into office. And you need to be able to talk about that fairly expressively in a way that people can understand. So that's really it. That's all you need to be able to run for office. Isn't that easy? What you don't actually need a college degree. It's nice, but if you don't have one, that's okay. You don't actually need to be a millionaire. It's nice to be a millionaire, but not everyone is a millionaire, and that's all right. Those are the things that you may have thought that you needed to run for office, but you really don't. You also don't need to be entangled in the world of politics already. You can come in as an outsider and you can run for office, and you can be successful if you're willing to learn. So if being a candidate sounds like it might be right for you, write all those things down, contact me on either Facebook or X. My handle is DocChai2022. The next thing I want to talk to you about is something that's very, very helpful. And this is the job that stops a lot of candidates cold in their tracks. And that is the bare minimum thing that a campaign needs to run is a treasurer. And when people go and they try to find a treasurer and they can't find a treasurer and they don't know how the money works, they feel hopeless. And then maybe they'll just give up at that point. And it's very frustrating. I get it. I was there once too, so I do really understand. So what does it take to be a treasurer? Well, the qualities of a treasurer are, you can be an introvert. You can be the type of person who's just a keyboard warrior who doesn't like to have their face in the spotlight, doesn't like to talk to people. All you need to do to be a treasurer is to be organized and to be willing to do things by the book. Okay, that's the only two things you need to do. Of course, it helps if you're good with numbers, but you would be managing a bank account. You need to be someone who understands how to balance a checkbook, how to read all the numbers, but it's not actually a giant accounting job. It's just making sure everything is done by the book, dotting every I and crossing every T. And that can be done with our help. And I'm going to get some people on here to do some Zoom calls who know the ropes about how to be a treasurer. And if you are a treasurer, you become a good treasurer. You can certainly be paid for this once the campaign starts getting in donations. But if you're all fired up and you just want to be a treasurer, you don't have to accept money for being a treasurer. But a treasurer can be certainly a paid position, but it's also a great way to team up with a candidate and get them signed up for votes. The third thing that I wanted to talk about really briefly is campaign manager. Now, the number one thing you need to be a campaign manager is to be an extrovert. You have to be like a social butterfly to manage a campaign. You have to be friendly, you have to be polite, you have to be sweet, but yet you also have to be firm and you don't want to take anybody's nonsense. So that's a very distinct type of personality that makes a good campaign manager. Someone who's not afraid to talk to people, someone who's not afraid to pick up the phone, someone who is good at talking with people and who's very positive, very optimistic, and leaves people feeling good after they're done talking to that person. So you don't want to have a mean campaign manager or a disorganized campaign manager. It helps to have experience managing campaign, but it's not 100% necessary because we do have people who can certainly teach you the ropes. And I'm also willing to set that up. So I hope this was helpful and it was not too confusing for you. But what I want to do is have you think, do I want to have a voice in Connecticut and in the world? Do I feel like my voice isn't being represented? If so, try one of these three positions, because the only way to create change is to be the change that you want to see in the country. It's a sacrifice. It's work. It's not easy. I'm not gonna pretend that it is. But there's a lot of people here who are willing to help you, willing to support you, and I certainly am willing to do so. And I know a lot of other people who are as well. Please sign up to run. We want to see every Democrat in the state of Connecticut opposed by at least one Republican candidate, potentially more Republican candidates. And we could really have a great primary that would bring in even more publicity to the GOP and get people more opportunity to talk about their issues. But I want you to think hard about it. I'm going to be posting in my community, which is Connecticut Changemakers. So go on to Connecticut Changemakers and sign up under Connecticut Changemakers. And we are going to start posting videos, and I'm going to start doing Zoom chats with people who are interested in running for office. Don't hesitate. Do it now. There is no time before the 2026 election, because the year before 2026 is vitally important for you, for your organization, for raising money, for raising awareness. So do it now. If you have any thought of running against a blue incumbent in the state of Connecticut, sign up and learn how. The only thing that we really ask is that you want to put Connecticut citizens first, and that you want to see change in Connecticut, that you want to break the blue machine, that you want to see government transparency, that you want to see fiscal responsibility, and that you want to put America first. That's all we ask. And I will love to see you in CT Changemakers, and we're going to get going. So let's go.